This is Morning Juice. Sports, insight, and great storytelling. Starring Bobby Carpenter and Jeff Tito Thidoff. It's time to attack and dominate.
It is Morning Juice. I'm Tito. It's a Thursday. I'm Tito. I probably should say that first. That's probably the biggest part of this. Bobby Carpenter.
You're definitely the biggest part of the show.
Now, you see, I weigh less than you, Bobby. That's all I'm going to say. If you look at the numbers.
If you look at the
just
numbers.
that one column, if you sort the column with the LBS
that
or the WT period.
That is factually probably true.
That's not even problem. I know I am. Do you weigh less than 221 that I weighed this morning?
I got into the 220s for the first time since high school about 2 years ago. Okay. I mean, I hadn't weighed less than 230 pounds, and I haven't had two consecutive twos there.
Right.
Since I was probably 17.
So I don't want to look at height. I don't want to look at BMI. I don't want to look at A1C. Just the WT column's all I care about.
Short for your weight.
That's what it is. I don't look at that
A1C's. You got diabetes, don't you?
Yes, I've got diabetes. Let's just put it on the screen now.
That's okay.
I think there's some HIPAA thing going on. You keep saying that.
You could say I don't.
Dr. Carpenter.
I'm not this disclosure to tell. I get that.
No,
I mean, you could.
No, I did.
You're the one that brought the A1Cs into conversation.
I know. That's fair.
What is your A1C?
Right now?
Yeah.
I don't know what it is right this minute. I mean, last time it was.
I don't even know what number. What does that mean?
That's like
I know what it is. It's like your sugar glycogen
yeah, it's
levels.
like what it is, yes. And if you're over, like there's different ways. If you're fasting, it should be a certain number. Like
they should call it slowing because it's
slowing, that's right. But like I think an A1C you want to have is, if I'm not mistaken, like around 5 is okay.
You want it to be less than that?
5 or less, yes.
Okay.
I think the highest I ever ranked at before I really knew I had diabetes, like my career best, is probably like 13. That was like I got to double digits. Like what? I got to a 10. Yeah, like I was pretty good for the year. But
toes started getting black.
Oh yeah, but hey, they're not Dion's toes though. But
that's good.
Wait, be careful on that one. Dion's toes are black, but not because of diabetes.
A couple of them are missing.
A couple are missing, right?
I think the term is absent, as you're looking for.
I think I would probably say 70 to 80% of his toes are still black, but intact.
But not black and blue.
I think black and intact is a good name for a rap album. If I was a rapper, that's what I would do, black and intact.
Why don't you throw that out to Mecca next time?
I will. That's a great idea. I think
you've really been holding out on him.
You're right. Mark the Shark over there. By the way, Mark the Shark is his street name, his given name, his last name ever, first name greatest. Shark, how are you today?
Terrific. Oh, it's a great day to be alive.
It's going to be a fun day today. We got Albert Breer to join us here at 6:40. I said a question mark. Is that accurate?
No, I assume so.
Okay.
I mean, Albert, listen.
He's always here. I know. He won't respond to me if I reach out to him, though.
So I found out some information yesterday.
Okay.
We can get into this later in the show because you had mentioned, my dad's record at Miami.
Yeah.
And he was listening. He wakes up, listens to the show, and my mom. It was their anniversary yesterday, their 48th wedding anniversary.
Failed to mention that one, didn't you, Bob?
I did fail to mention it yesterday here. I did do 2 hours with Rothman yesterday, and I threw it in there.
Priorities.
So they had like 5 good years, huh? Before you were born.
Yeah, basically.
Right,
That's what my parents always said. Like, you want to be married before you have kids, like for a while, just to make sure like you would get to enjoy your life a little bit. Yeah. So it was like that.
Not always have that luxury. But
my mom turned 21 on June 5th, and then they got married on June 11th. So they like the joke, like she's like, I barely was able to drink at my wedding.
Barely
I think,
legal.
yeah.
Bob, I had a solid 3 months before I started having kids.
No, I mean, believe me, good for you.
At least I was married.
Braggadocious on me over there. Go ahead.
But my dad, he mentioned, the Mac, he said they were 31-1-1.
See, I thought it was 33-1. But yeah,
I think they played 11 maybe then.
They
were 33 or maybe whatever. They were 30, 30
one loss,
maybe 33-1-1 or 31-1-1. They tied Purdue.
Okay,
wow.
They tied Purdue, and they lost to Michigan State by a point or by 3 or something. He's like, our defensive back. We've never played on turf before, and he said we didn't have a place to practice on turf. We go up to Michigan State, and they have turf in their stadium, and our defensive back got his foot snagged, fell down, and they threw an out to Kurt Gibson.
Right.
And he ran in for a touchdown.
Wow.
And that was the deciding score.
So they went undefeated in the MAC for 3 years.
Yeah. They've lost one of their bowl games.
Is Miami still playing on grass, or do they have turf now?
That's a good question. They probably have field turf, I would think. I've called games there. I would have to imagine it's probably field turf.
So you're telling me your dad's team lost that game to Michigan State because someone slipped?
Their defensive back fell down. And
a la Chris Gamble, for you.
Very similar, yeah.
History has repeated itself.
Instead of Lee Evans, who played a long time in the NFL, was the guy who hit game-deciding home run in a pinch hit home run in the World Series.
Right. And didn't Steve Garvey also play receiver? I think played receiver at Michigan State also.
And when he said that, I'd forgotten. He had told me that story before. And I was younger, so I didn't know who Gibson was. And as I got older, like when I say younger, like probably 10, 11, 9 or 10 years old. Like I said, we didn't have ESPN, so there's no way for me to have watched that at any point in my life.
Right.
And so I was like, baseball player? I remember thinking about that later. And I was like, yeah, he played football too.
The Guardians edged the Reds yesterday, 11-2. It was a close game there. Reds took 5 out of 6 in the series. Will Benson, the most outstanding player.
What was the aggregate score, though?
I can't remember. I just know that the Reds won 5 of 6, Bobby. That's all I really care about. The Reds clearly were resting players for the off day today. Wanted to get back in
2
form.
days rest.
Yes, 2 days rest. Very important this time of the season in June. Reds were in Detroit and Guardians in Seattle this weekend. They're both off today. Indiana beat OKC 116-107 in the NBA. Pacers lead 2-1. Game 4 is on Friday. Bobby, you told us you watched a good chunk of that game. I did not need to watch any of it. From the time I saw who was courtside, I knew who was going to win the game.
Who was courtside?
Caitlin Clark. When she goes to Pacers playoff games, they're 8-0. So if you see Caitlin Clark at the game, you can assume the Pacers will win the game.
Okay.
Edmonton, Florida tonight at 8 o'clock in the NHL. Florida's got a series lead in that one. US Open will keep you updated on that today. Do you guys, I'm starting to work on something on the side where I'm going to try to figure out if you're like, if the person is a jerk or not, with a series of questions. They're just like simple, you're this or this. And I'm going to get an algorithm together that tells me if you're a jerk. Like one of the things would be, do you root for golfers to struggle in events like this, or do you want to see good golf? You know what I mean? Like things like that. Which one are you? You're one or the other. Are you the dad who ever lets your kid beat him in a sport? Or do you always do your best? Like what you said, going to the pool the other day. Yeah. Caleb's a damn good swimmer. Does he ever challenge you to swim against him?
He hasn't yet. I mean, this year. Maybe he did last year. I wouldn't let him beat me, though.
You would go all out no matter what?
Oh, I would just make sure I won.
Okay, I'm saying, but you would. So you're not the kind of dad that would let him.
The thing is, there'll be a point where he can beat me, and that'll be sooner rather than later. Cullen, maybe. I don't think he can get me yet. Probably about 13, 14 is when they get to the point, because I don't swim nearly as much as they do. I would not.
You would not, because Jordan never let his kids win anything.
Yeah, I'm not going to let him win.
Okay, Shark.
When you win, you're going to get the win.
So, Shark, you're saying you would never let your kids.
No. Nope.
Okay. See,
what good does that do them?
I don't give some confidence. Maybe I don't know. Maybe it's false confidence, but confidence nonetheless. I
don't let them beat me in Monopoly or Yahtzee.
Well, Monopoly's different. I'm talking about athletic events. Monopoly and Yahtzee, I get it.
No, I know. I don't let it happen. They need to beat me fair and square.
All right. I'm just saying that's the way I would determine.
If I'm a jerk, does that make me a jerk?
I haven't done all the math yet. I haven't done all that yet. I'm in the early stages of this novel. This thing I'm working on, to where there's certain ways. It'll be like one of those charts where if you go yes, go here, yes, no, whatever, go here, and it'll tell you if you're a jerk or not.
Oh, like a binomial decision tree?
That's exactly the name of the title of the book I had on that one, so I'm not sure how you just read my mind on that one, Bobby, when you said binomial dysentery. Anyway, Bobby's about to make us all smarter, as if he didn't already with the binomial dysentery thing. Here we go.
Decision tree.
Well, whatever. Tomato.
Time to get smarter. Morning Juice presents Today in History. Here's your professor, Bobby Carpenter.
Hey, Bobby.
Boy. It is Thursday, June 12th, 163rd day of the year, 202 days remaining in this 2025, and we get under 200, Shark. It always goes really quickly, and it's going to go even faster for you because you're inside of 20 days. This date, 1817, the earliest form of a bicycle. It's called the dandy horse. I mean, no one would know what to call things like that. It was newly created, is ridden by and created by Carl van Draa. That was 1817.
That had to be really tough. You think about they had the tricycle with the big tire up front, but now you had to balance yourself.
They got the first model at the Smithsonian. It's actually a balloon bicycle. Go ahead.
What does that even mean?
It's a bicycle made out of balloon. It's a make me a clown.
Make me a clown.
Make me a
bicycle clown.
Yeah, it's a balloon actually. Say, hey, wait, this might work.
Yep.
Let's do this.
This day, 1908, the Lusitania crosses the Atlantic in a record 4 days and 15 hours. Do you know what the significance of this ship, the Lusitania, is?
I believe he was a pitcher of the Reds minor league system for a while.
Sure.
Lusitania?
It was sunk in World War I.
Before World War I. That was one of the
led to it?
precursors that helped opening up of World War I. Yes.
So it made it across the ocean in 4 days.
Yes. 15 hours.
I'm taking a transatlantic cruise next year.
Is Jan taking a transit?
She's not going with me. She didn't want to go. But it's going to take like 8 days.
I might try to convince her to go.
Why don't you go with me?
You're seriously not going with Jan?
She
wouldn't go. This was the joke. We've been talking about this for months. She wouldn't go. She won't go.
She won't go?
She goes on cruises with me, but she doesn't want to be at sea for 8 days.
I wouldn't want that either.
I love it.
It does, the buffets.
I saw Gilligan's Island. It scarred me on going on boats.
The minnow would be lost.
Yes.
The Lusitania got sunk. This day, 1939, the Baseball Hall of Fame opens in Cooperstown, New York. I ask Shark this every year. I'll ask you, Thedoff.
Yep.
Is it 5, Shark?
Yes. In 39, the first class was in 34.
Yeah.
And so by the time the museum actually opened in 39, they had 19 guys go in. But yeah, that was.
Who was the first class?
I would say, is Walter Johnson in there? Was he one of them?
Yep.
Was Babe Ruth?
Yes.
Yep. I keep thinking Cy Young was not in that class.
He was not. He was in the second class.
Who else in that first class? Ty Cobb?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Honus Wagner, maybe?
Yes.
Yep.
One more.
I don't know who the fifth is, though.
Pitcher.
It's a pitcher. Is it Christy Mathewson?
It is.
Good job. Not Ty Cobb, or not Cy Young.
Who was the Nap dude that was a hitter?
Napoleon Lajoie.
Lajoie. Because I say Nap dude because I can never pronounce the name right. I always say Lajoie.
The
Lajoie.
Cleveland Naps were named after him.
Yep.
There you go. This day, 1942, Anne Frank receives her diary for her 13th birthday, her famous diary. This date, 1954, Rock Around the Clock is released.
9, 10, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, rock, we're gonna rock around the clock tonight. Put your glad rags on, join me home, we'll have some fun.
What a banger right there. I enjoy that song. This date, 1963, Surfer Girl and Little Deuce Coupe are recorded by the Beach Boys.
Do you love me? Do you, surfer girl,
my little surfer girl?
You think Brian still enjoys singing that?
Not today.
Yeah, he's up visiting the Queen.
He's singing to the Queen. Singing for the Queen.
That's what he's doing.
That is wild that was coming out, and I saw that text come through yesterday.
Yeah.
Was he 82 years old?
Yes.
There you go.
Lived a full life.
He did. So I was talking to my son about that. I was like, the guy, they used to do a lot of, they did a lot of drugs back then. He goes, Dad, I think they all did a lot of drugs. And he goes, I think they might still do, like entertainers, like singers and stuff.
Think about this, Bob. You're saying that song came out in 63?
Yeah.
So that was
62
years ago. He was 20 when that song came out.
Well, he wanted to make
Young
sure.
lad.
Early Hanson.
Got it going. This date, 1967, the Washington Senators defeat the Chicago White Sox 6-5 in a 22-inning baseball game. You love it, Shark. It's the timeless sport. We're an American Band is recorded by Grand Funk.
we're an American band. We're coming to your town. We'll help you party it down. We're an American band.
That was in 73. In 75, Billy Williams hits his 400th career home run. And then in 1984, United States President Ronald Reagan looks over one of Shark's icons. The man actually, do you really enjoy him, Shark? Because he destroyed the Soviet Union for you.
He was the best of the worst, let's say that.
That's the word. He was the 7th premier, I believe. Mikhail Gorbachev to tear down that wall.
General Secretary Gorbachev, if you seek peace, if you seek prosperity for the Soviet Union and Eastern Europe, if you seek liberalization, come here to this gate. Mr. Gorbachev, open this gate. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Who do you think of first when you think about the Berlin Wall? Reagan, Gorbachev, or David Hasselhoff?
Hitler.
Okay. I think Hasselhoff first.
The Hoff, was he like sitting on the wall?
He did like a concert, he did like a song one. I don't know if it was that day or if he was somehow. That would have been his Knight Rider peak, I would think, right around then.
Yeah, that's true. Late 80s. This date, 1990, Ricky Henderson of the A's is the second to steal on 900 career bases.
I got nothing for you.
I thought you were going to have the base. Bring
Didn't
it in.
you look at the list today?
I'm joking. I enjoy messing with you sometimes.
That's what this
Shark.
list is for.
Then this date, 1994, Nicole Brown and Ron Goldman are mysteriously murdered outside of her home.
The neighbors who found Nicole's body outside her Brentwood home sounds like the opening of a CSI episode. Nicole's dog had been wandering around the area with blood-soaked fur, and the neighbors were trying to return it to its owner when they, quote, saw a lady laying down in a pool of blood. The details in the coroner's autopsy report were even more disturbing. According to the report, her attacker stabbed her 7 times in the scalp and neck. Cuts on her hands indicated that she had tried to fight back against her killer. The largest wound on her body was a gruesome slash across her throat that was over 5 inches long. The cut severed the carotid arteries on both sides of her neck as well as her jugular veins. It was so deep that the knife left a mark on one of her vertebrae.
Never found the killer.
It's amazing, too.
Listen, man, OJ looked for him till the day he died.
And that's what Norm MacDonald.
It actually killed him looking for him.
Norm MacDonald said what terrible luck that was. OJ's the one person said he would take a bullet for her, then ends up killing her. You know, it's like, what's the tough luck of that one there?
Did you ever watch O.J. Simpson Made in America?
Yes.
Yeah.
And they said, they talked, this was 94, so I was 11 years old. And, they talk about it, and they slit her throat. They said that there was a cut on her vertebrae that he'd almost sawed her head completely off her
Almost
body.
decapitated.
Bobby, those were, Damon's restaurants had some of their greatest lunch businesses during the trial. Because people would come over to Damon's for lunch to watch the trial on Court TV or CNN, whoever was going to be out at the time. But I remember when they gave the verdict. I was at the Park Hotel one, and it was full with people watching the verdict. And I think that was also time the World Cup may have been going on, or maybe it was right after that. But yeah, it was insane. There was the lunch business for Damon's during that time, and for restaurants like sports bars
for watching the
trial and everything. The verdict, it was just like you could hear a pin drop.
I remember when the verdict coming out was the equivalent of. Watching the NBA draft lottery, watching Powerball. I mean, it was crazy big, and they were worried that if he was found guilty, they were going to have the LA riots again.
We had the John Cooper press luncheon, weekly press luncheon that day, and it had to be moved up an hour because Coop wanted to see the verdict.
Coop wanted to watch. That's amazing.
Seriously.
Oh, good for him. Good for him. Some birthdays today. Ironically, too, I saw this thing pop up in my social media feed, and it was Howard Cosell flanked by Bruce Jenner and O.J. Simpson doing a news, a hit.
Oh, yeah.
And then Howard Cosell could predict the future. It's pretty good. Some birthdays today. Born on this date, 1924, passing away 7 years ago in 2018. George H.W. Bush, former President of the United States. Anne Frank, born on this date in 1929. Marv Albert. Yes, turning 84.
With tonight's game winding down, I'm thinking, well, this is it. My last broadcast, and all that's going through my mind is I have been so fortunate to be doing this for 55 years, doing what I love, having a front row seat for so many of the iconic moments in sports history. I wish I were starting all over again. It has been such a joy. So for the last time, thanks so much for watching. I'm Marv Albert saying thank you and good night.
When did he retire, Shark? He said
in the last 5 years, right?
I was going to say, I would check to see if he was still broadcasting because I felt like I've heard him in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And I don't watch a ton of NBA games.
It was a TNT game with Reggie Miller, but not that long ago.
Yeah, unbelievable. I mean, Shark, do you feel insignificant that he worked into his mid to late 70s?
Not at all. He had better hair than me.
Well, I'll get you some of that dye, and maybe get you Jan some of those stilettos.
There's a hairpiece too.
Should have played a Def Leppard song behind him saying that, but go ahead.
Meredith Brooks turning 67 today.
I'm a bitch, I'm a lover, I'm a child, I'm a mother, I'm a sinner, I'm a saint. I do not feel ashamed.
How old?
67. She was born in 58.
So she was like,
40
what?
She was in her 40s when she released that song.
Wow.
Because I was in middle school. I was almost driving at that point. I remember getting it and having a CD of it, like my mom having a CD of it and playing it. So it was after 95.
That's shocking to me.
Yeah, she was in her early 40s, late 30s when that song came
I
out.
just had a bitter relationship leading into that because that wasn't a very happy song.
Oh, what do you mean?
That was your wife's theme song.
That's what we played at the wedding when she came in. Actually, we didn't play when she came up the reception. We played Devil in Disguise by Elvis. That's the truth.
Antoine Jameson turning 49 today, the 16-year NBA vet. And Dallas Clark turning 46. Some passings today. Nicole Brown and Ron Goldman passed in 1994. Gregory Peck, who we talked about from To Kill a Mockingbird, passing away in 2003.
This case should never have come to trial. The state has not produced one iota of medical evidence that the crime Tom Robertson is charged with ever took place. The defendant is not guilty. In this country, our courts are the great levelers. In our courts, all men are created equal. Now, I am confident that you gentlemen will review, without passion, the evidence that you have heard, come to a decision, and restore this man to his family. In the name of God.
He does a better Morgan Freeman than Morgan Freeman does.
That was really good. It had a little Charlton Heston in there, too.
Yeah.
When he said God, I felt like I was watching the Ten Commandments with Moses. Gregory Peck, delivering lines back in the day. And then also in this date, 2024, it's tough because after watching the Showtime, not documentary, like the bio series or whatever, where they just depict Jerry West as a rageaholic. That's all I can
the
think
HBO
about.
thing with Perlman, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
I think it was called Showtime.
I think you're right.
But Jerry West passing on this date, 2024.
Lakers trying to pressure the inbounds pass, and it comes into Walt Frazier with 10 seconds now showing on the clock. 8 seconds left to go on the clock. 7, 6, 5. DeBusschere shoots. Hit with 3 seconds to go. 2 seconds. 1 second. West throws it up. He makes it. West threw it up and makes it. Over half court. The ball game is tied. Jerry West made it from the other side of the midcourt stripe.
Was that in the NBA playoffs or?
Yeah,
Finals,
it was
right?
in the
Finals?
finals.
Yeah.
70.
Is that no? They won it in '69.
No, they won it in
The
69.
Knicks won it in 70 and 73,
right?
beating the Lakers both times.
Did the Lakers win it in 72?
Over
He won one.
Lou
That's a-
Alcindor.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
he
was-
won one.
One.
Yeah.
He was in the finals like 9
Right.
times, mostly against the Celtics.
My goodness. Some holidays observances today. It is International Falafel Day. How about that? Loving Day, National Automotive Service Professionals Day, National Jerky Day, National Peanut Butter Cookie Day. That sounds great. Poultry Day, Red Rose Day, Superman Day as well. And those are your historical events, your birthdays, your passings, your holidays observances for this date, Thursday, June 12th, the 163rd day of the year, and 202 days remaining in this 2025.
Well done as always, General. Bearcat chimes in, by the way. 2021 is the last time Marv Albert did a game. It was Game 6 of the East Finals. Atlanta and in Atlanta. It's hit the Hawks and the Bucks back in, that's what last time Marv. So it's been, 4 years then, I guess, since he's done something. Thank you, everyone, chiming in on the chat. Go find us there on YouTube if you want to communicate with us during the show. By the way, coming up next. Go ahead, what?
Coming up next, well, here's the thing. Albert asked if he could do 640.
We usually have, right?
Okay.
So, yeah, so
That's
we're
fine.
good. Yeah, we're good at that. Yeah.
All right, you just wanted to make sure. That's what I thought it was, but before you tease, I didn't know if we are going to move.
No, you're good. Yeah.
Moving around.
A former Bengal found a new home, and a future Bengal is wondering if Cincy will ever be his home. We'll do that next. Morning Juice.
Hey, Max, you look absolutely dashing in that purple tie. Ready to harness the world?
You bet, Daisy. I'm ready as I'll ever be. And might I say, your purple tie really pops with your vest.
Thanks. I almost went with a cape, but didn't want to come across as pretentious.
Nonsense. Anyone in our line of work should rock a cape.
You might be onto something, Max.
Phew, so here we go. First day on the job. We've got this, right?
Right. Don't forget, we both graduated from Dogs Inc. with honors.
Which means I can guide my human around a busy city with ease.
And I can give my human a restful night.
I hope my human is kind and loving.
And I hope mine likes wet kisses and zoomies.
Ready to make a difference?
Born ready. Let's go.
Discover how extraordinary dogs like Daisy and Max change lives at no cost to the recipients. Visit dogsinc.org.
I'm Shanola Hampton. Every day, millions of people face hunger. Today, I will share with you some of their experiences. I'm stuck between paying for medications or paying for food. John from Maine. After paying my bills, I can buy groceries. It's sad to say, food comes last. Alice from Oregon. I thought pantries were for less fortunate people, but anybody could be less fortunate in a day or even a second. Claire from Virginia. The Feeding America network of food banks helps provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. No one should have to worry where their next meal will come from. Together, we can end hunger. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.
One in 4 Americans today are living with a disability. I'm one of them. I care deeply about creating a world we can all fully participate in, free from stigma, misperceptions, and barriers. And we've got a trusted ally on our side, an organization we can rely on, Easter Seals. Rooted in communities nationwide, Easter Seals helps empower millions of people, regardless of age or disability, through its life-changing services and powerful advocacy. Today and every day, Easter Seals is leading the way to full equity, inclusion, and access to healthcare, employment, and education for people with disabilities, families, and communities. That's my Easter Seals. Make it yours. Learn more and get involved at easterseals.com.
Bobby's knees hurt from doing battle with some of football's toughest warriors. Tito's knees hurt from begging Bobby to let him host this show.
Oh, pick me! Oh, I know, me!
This is Morning Juice.
Morning Juice. Tito, Carpenter, Shark with you. Next segment, Albert Breer is going to join us. Those of you that want to see him, though, you'll have to Google him and find images while you listen to him.
He's got some stuff going on today, and he said he's just going to be on the phone. I said, it's all right, Albert. I appreciate you getting up and speaking with us early in the AM.
I got a lot of questions for him. Can't wait to talk to all the stuff going to the NFL, and that's why we'll talk a lot of NFL this time of year. Jermaine Pratt, who the Bengals parted ways with, their leading tackler, ended up signing with the Raiders. He's there on a 1-year deal, $4.25 million. And we talked about Bobby, I don't know, last week it must have been, or maybe earlier this week maybe it was, but about the importance of the position Pratt plays. And even though he, has had some great stats, he is at a position where you can find other options sometimes cheaper, right?
Yeah, it's an off-the-ball linebacker, and that's just unless you're one of the best, a lot of people, view that as kind of interchangeable. He'd been there for a while. He's getting ready to turn 30. He's 29.
I believe he is. Yeah, I think he's getting ready to turn 30. Yeah.
Yeah, and so he's older, and while he's a staple of it, we can get younger and cheaper at that position. And you'd rather have defensive backs, coverage guys, and pass rushers. Those are more premium positions, so I get it.
He by the Bengals getting rid of him, the team saved $5.9 million in cap space, and now, of course, you have to wonder, will they use it to maybe get Hendrickson signed and get him happy and get him in camp? Their rookie, Shamar Stewart, is still hasn't been signed yet.
Yeah, because they're trying to jam language in the contract that no one else has had.
And he came out with some pretty strong
Yeah.
statements about I saw this on The Athletic, and he said, I'm 100% right, meaning about not going in there. I'm not asking for nothing y'all have never done before, but in y'all case, y'all just want to win an argument instead of winning more games. He also said his teammates are very supportive. It's made it very easy when the people in here in the locker room say you're doing the right things, especially the star players. So they took him with the number 17 pick overall of A&M, and the defense certainly needs help. He had a decent combine, too. I think he had a 4.6 40. But
he had a great combine. He wasn't very productive in college, and they want to put language in there that protects him if he doesn't end up being very good. And his point to them was, I didn't draft myself in the first round. You drafted me. So you thought that I was this good, so treat me like all the other first-round picks.
Is that, Bobby, you think something that...
I think they're trying to protect themselves on the downside in case he ends up not being that great. But it's like, well, you're the one that took him there.
Right.
So if you didn't think he was good, then don't take him there. If not, treat him like the pick that he was.
Do you think that's something that will be or should be changed going forward as far as in, like, when the next time they have a negotiation about how they're going to do the rookie deals, rookie contract, like, is that the kind of language that should be out of those things? Or do you think
it has been out of them largely? I mean,
right.
You know, the offsets and the guarantees and when things kick and all that stuff. They, most of the other agents, or all agents, have like pushed that out of deals now.
Right.
And Cincinnati's one of the few people that want to leave it in. So the market takes care of that a lot of times.
Right.
And so they've talked about, the NFL not having guaranteed contracts. Well, they're starting to get more and more guaranteed deals, and larger percentages of them are. And the market will always dictate that. And Cincinnati, this is how they operate. And so this is why, like, when they want public funds, they threaten to leave. I'm like, dude, you guys are the cheapest team in the world. And so I have zero tears for you. This is ridiculous.
I'm trying to think. I know you're, I don't know if the cheapest, I'm trying to think, they are the cheapest NFL team, I would say. I'm trying to think of other sports, like in American sports. I shouldn't say American. I'm sorry. The four major professional sports. A's are pretty damn cheap. But yeah, they got to be up there. I can't think of another. You don't have that in the NBA. You've talked about the stopgaps are in there, so you can't really have that in the NBA. NHL, I can't really, because the same thing. You got to spend a certain amount of money every single year on your salary, so you can't do that.
Well, the NFL, you have to spend a certain amount of year on their salary. The NFL is just the one league, especially in the rookie deals where they have like offset language and bonus guarantees and when things are triggered and stuff like that. And it functionally comes down to, like, if they cut him, what does the offset look like? And I haven't even looked at the exact verbiage of what they're getting upset about with this, because now your first-round picks, like, they're all guaranteed for four years.
Right.
But it's probably when bonuses kick in and how that's all going to work and that kind of stuff.
When you got drafted, this wasn't in place. Well, this was in place, wasn't it? This kind of the rookie scale like this?
No, they didn't have a rookie wage scale.
They didn't have that yet.
No, that didn't come in until probably Matt Stafford.
He was the last.
He was 09, I think.
I remember Bradford getting the stupid contract.
It was Bradford.
Bradford, the last one?
Bradford was drafted in 10 by the Rams, and that was the last one. Because, and then in 11, we had a new CBA, and that's where they introduced the rookie wage scale.
What was your negotiation like? Did you, how much, I guess I'm saying, because I know you're the type of person, just from what I know of you, that that would want to be very involved in that process and know the ins and outs. And I don't know if you were that way back then still, but
yeah, to a certain degree. I mean, that's why I was paying my agent to do that.
Right.
They're getting 3%, not for nothing, but to negotiate it. But there was a sticking point of how the option bonuses kicked in and when they wanted to do that. Because like they said, the owners, they want to hold on to their money as long as they can.
Sure.
And so I remember going in, I was at training camp, and we had a meeting like before, and I hadn't been signed yet. And they dragged this stuff out. I was like, let's get it done. And my agent's like, they'll do it the week before training camp. Like,
okay.
Why wouldn't we just do it in the middle of the summer? And like, this is how everybody does it. And I remember going in and sitting down across from Steven and Jerry Jones and arguing my case for why I wanted the options to kick in when they would. And they were pushing back on the other side. And they did concede some ground, and we found a compromise. But I was out there in Oxnard, California, negotiating with them over that. And so that's why when like people ask if I have an agent and stuff in this. I'm like, dude, I'd sit there across from Jerry Jones and negotiate with him. Like, I don't need.
I wondered about that. Like how different that's
about millions of dollars, not arguing over, whatever's we're going to argue about here in this nonsense.
Working with Tito from 6 to 8 a.m.
Well, it's just like people like ask like, aren't you intimidated and scared? I'm like, dude, are you kidding me? Like, just you do it and you talk about it and you figure it out. Try to solve a problem. That's all it is. Trying to find some common ground and why, trying to find a win-win for everybody or something where, everybody's a little bit happy at least.
Ace has a question in the chat. And if you're in the chat and want to chime in, we'd love to hear from you. All three of us can answer this question. Based on what your current skills are, do you think you're more successful in one round of the U.S. Open, shooting less than 100, or getting a base hit in a World Series game? Which are you more likely to do with your current situation, skill set?
Shoot less than 100.
At Oakmont. Or get a base hit in a World Series game?
I've never played baseball, a competitive game of baseball in my life.
You've gone to batting cage. You've hit the ball before and stuff.
Yeah, I've gone to batting cages. Sure. I do the softball game here, which they would bring in the Ohio State pitchers.
Right, yeah.
I mean, hitting from 40 feet when they're throwing 65 miles an hour. I mean, I got contact on them. I never got anything in play, but I didn't just whiff. I would probably have to say I have a better chance of shooting under 100 at Oakmont.
Okay.
But that puts that at like a 0.3% chance, which I would have a better chance at hitting a baseball, but I don't think I have a good chance of doing either.
Sharky?
Definitely hitting a baseball. I probably wouldn't be able to do it, but I think I could get lucky enough to bat meets ball and somehow drops in. There is no way I could shoot. I'm happy when I shoot under 100 at Raymond.
Yeah.
Honestly, if I'm breaking 100, I'm pretty happy. Now I'm a hacker, but there is no. I bet I couldn't shoot under 100 on the front 9 at Oakmont.
I think I'm probably the same way. I'm with that. My answer is based on the fact that I could, luckily.
Yes.
But I can't get lucky for 18 holes. You know what I mean? Like that's 99 swings I'd have to be okay with. This is just one I got to.
So it's just a normal 3 strikeout policy.
Let's say that's normal 3. Yeah, you just throw it out there.
I get to hit like a whole side's worth of pitches.
I don't hit it until you. I don't know what until the
if
arm
you were going to give
falls
me
off.
that, I mean,
right, then you might go.
If I was going to get like 80 or 90 pitches, then I feel like I might be able to get one in play.
I think if the score is like 14-0 and they bring in the second baseman to pitch,
right? Yeah,
and he's throwing
Dwayne Kuiper comes in,
miles an hour, maybe.
Yeah, maybe then at that point. I think you're right on that. That's probably the way I would look at it too. That's a good question, but we need that qualifier. If it's 3 strikes and you're out, I'd still take the baseball, but I don't know how they stand in there with the guys throwing that hard.
Can I get a base by taking a hit?
Yeah, you could just lean into it. Maybe that's what it is.
Can I Roger Dorn it and just lean on in and take one in the shoulder? I'd do that.
You get a full game, like 4 to 5 at bats in the game.
Bobby,
I would still not feel
Cheeto
good about
doesn't know who Dorn is.
Oh, yeah, sure. I've seen that movie. It's a classic.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, good for you.
Yeah, the contract, and he pees on the contract and all that. And you remember that when Dorn's contract got peed on?
Remember Joe Boo?
I remember Joe Boo, yes. The State Farm, not State Farm. Was he State Farm?
State Farm.
Okay, which one it was? No, was he? It wasn't Prudential.
I think it was State Farm.
Was it before Jake from State Farm?
Yeah,
maybe so. Of course, we got off on a tangent there, but hey, we'll get back on track. Albert Breer next. Morning Juice.
You know what hope is? Hope is action, carving a path forward, even when it's hard.
And kids who still know how to dream. They're the best pathfinders of all.
So at Child Fund, hope means helping millions of children living in poverty worldwide to grow up healthy, educated, skilled, and so all those good things can come true for them, safe.
And that means safe at home, safe at school, and safe online.
Hope means walking this path together, all of us. Because when we work together, we can do so much more.
That's right. Hope includes you.
Child Fund, because we need each other.
To learn how Child Fund works with children in 23 countries to help them achieve their full potential, visit childfund.org. That's childfund.org.
Once there was a man who couldn't stand.
A mom who couldn't wait.
a scientific community that said it couldn't be done.
And then you.
And then I. And then we brought neuromuscular disease into screaming color with the Muscular Dystrophy Association.
For 75 years, our voices have thundered through the halls of Congress.
We've willed the impossible into existence. We've pushed the science,
raised the funds,
shifted the narrative,
and transformed the reality of life with neuromuscular diseases.
For 75 years, we've built communities together,
established the field of neuromuscular medicine, and made it thrive.
Call that a legacy.
Call it impact.
Call it momentum. Just call it ours.
Because it's the generations of community heroes that give MDA the strength we have today.
And until neuromuscular disease is a thing of the past, you couldn't stop us if you tried.
Join us and celebrate 75 years of breakthroughs at MDA75.org.
And we're live here outside the Perez family home, just waiting for and there they go, almost on time this morning. Mom is coming out the front door strong with a double-arm kid carry. Looks like Dad has the bags. Daughter is bringing up the rear. Oh, but the diaper bag wasn't closed. Diapers and toys are everywhere. Ooh, but Mom has just nailed the perfect car seat buckle for the toddler. And now the eldest daughter, who looks to be about 9 or 10, has secured herself in the booster seat. Dad zips the bag closed, and they're off. But looks like Mom doesn't realize her coffee cup is still on the roof of the car. And there it goes. Oh, that's a shame. That mug was a fam favorite.
Don't sweat the small stuff. Just nail the big stuff. Like making sure your kids are buckled correctly in the right seat for their age and size. Learn more at nhtsa.gov/the right seat.
Visit nhtsa.gov/the
right seat. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Bobby is the all-American male. Tito pulled a hammy getting his mail. This is Morning Juice.
All right, Morning Juice. Normally, he is sweaty. Today, he is buttoned up and looking very, very professional. Albert Breer joins us from MMQB. Albert, fascinating piece you had on Aaron Rodgers and all the stuff that went on behind the scenes and how it all got done. And I don't know which one, what surprised you more? The fact that the Steelers were that secretive and slick about it, or that Aaron Rodgers was so secretive and slick about it?
Well, first of all, guys, I don't know how professional it is that I'm like driving right now and have a camera pointed at me. But hopefully this works out for everybody. Yeah, I mean, I think honestly, guys, like I think the main thing about the secretiveness about this was just establishing a level of trust. And I think after 18 years in the NFL and now headed into year. Well, wait a minute, no. Now my math is wrong. This is year 21 for him, right? So after 20 years in the NFL and heading into year 21, I think it's important for Aaron to know that he can trust the people around him. And like the Steelers, I think, kind of mesh with that the way they've always operated. So, look, like he had his personal things he had to take care of, over the last 3 months. And, I think the operative term here is all in. Like I don't think he wanted to sign until he was all in because of what happened last year with the Jets and kind of what they went through when he didn't show up for the mini camp and the kind of noise that created. I think everybody think the thing that would be better would be if they just trust that it's going to work, they stay in touch, they keep talking. The Steelers are quietly building an offense for him. He was staying in shape and, then that would avoid everybody else the trouble of having to answer when he's going to show up. And then when he shows up, he's all in. And that obviously that juncture came late last week and spent the weekend, working hard with Arthur Smith on what this is all going to look like. And, was able to hit the ground running on Tuesday.
Based on the makeup of the roster, and I know TJ Watt right now is currently not participating in things, and he's trying to get his new deal. But for the Steelers to have a successful season, is it more important for Aaron Rodgers to have a great year or TJ Watt to have a great year?
It's a great question. I think, I think that the Steelers have a chance to not ask Aaron Rodgers to be Superman the way the Jets did last year. Like, essentially, I think the difference for Aaron between the Steelers and the Giants, because they were really the last two teams in this before Aaron made his mind up in March, was I think the Giants were sort of asking Aaron the same thing the Jets were asking of him 2 years ago, which essentially is we've got promising young core of players that we really, really like, and we want you to lift those guys up and take them to the next level. Whereas with the Steelers, they're just asking him to jump on a moving train. You know, they're not asking him to do anything except just come play football. You know, you don't need to lift this operation up. We've been winning for a while. And so, you know, from that perspective, I think all they really are asking of Aaron is just go play football. Just go be the quarterback that you've been. You don't need to be the MVP of the league. Just go play quarterback. And I think with TJ Watt, it's like that's sort of the strength of the team, you know, where like for Aaron, it's like Aaron is, again, jumping on that moving train. TJ Watt has been part of forming the identity of that team over the last few years. And so, you know, I'm hesitant to say anybody's more important than the quarterback and where a team goes, but TJ Watt is so central to what that team is and to what Aaron Rodgers is buying into. I think it's pretty close.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable, Albert. And, you know, like the secrecy element of that, like you said, was pretty impressive. Was there anybody like any of the players, did they have any idea that this was going on? Or was this simply a front office situation?
I mean, I don't think the players had like, I would say there's probably a small group of players that knew. I'm sure Aaron was in touch with some of them. Obviously, he has DK Metcalf's number because they were out there on the field in California working out together. So yeah, I mean, I think it was a smaller circle of people. I think people knew what was going on.
Yeah.
You know, I think the high level coaches, you know, your coordinators, you know, the high level front office people, because I guess it's sort of one of those need to know things, right? Like the offensive coaches need to know what they're building towards. The front office people need to know what they're building around, you know? And so I think to some degree, I think there was a decent amount of people that knew, you know, and then I think I'm like everybody else, Bobby, everybody else assumed, you know what I mean? Like you can kind of see the writing on the wall, and I'm sure there were, and I don't know this for a fact, but I'm sure for the players, there were little signs and maybe stuff they were doing in the spring. You know, that's interesting. You know, like that looks a little bit like, you know, like what the Packers did 3 or 4 years ago or what the Jets did last year. So I think I think there was probably a small circle that knew and the sort of guys that needed to know. And then my guess would be everybody else just sort of assumed.
Who do you think, Albert, a year from now will be the starting quarterback in Indianapolis? So let me put it this way. Is he on the roster for the Colts right now, do you think? The starting quarterback for the 2026 season?
That's an awesome question. I think there's a really good chance the Colts are one of the teams that's in the mix to draft a quarterback next year. You know, it's hard because I just don't know where Anthony Richardson is going to get his opportunity now. I mean, the thing that Richardson needs more than anything else is just to play. It's sort of like Trey Lance a few years ago, you know, where I think Trey Lance got like in this catch-22 where it was like, all right, like, well, the guy needs reps, and so he needs to play, but can the coaches afford to do that with the roster they have in San Francisco, right? Like, so with Lance, it was like the championship roster. You can't like just throw a year overboard to, you know, in the name of quarterback development. So it was sort of like you had this quarterback who wasn't ready but needed reps but couldn't get reps because of the team he was on. And I think it's similar here, only that instead of it being like a championship level team, it's like there's a lot of people that are fighting for their jobs there, you know, and so they can't afford to just say, oh, yeah, like it's okay if Anthony Richardson posts a 60 quarterback rating 4 weeks in a row because we're developing him. I don't think that works for them anymore, you know? So I think it's a very narrow path out of this for Anthony Richardson. And I don't know. I think Daniel Jones, the way that Brian Daboll made it work with Daniel Jones a couple of years ago is they played him like Josh Allen, right? Like I think you almost have to play him that way. The problem is not everybody's as durable as Josh Allen. And we've seen how that kind of hit him physically. So I'm not sure where either of these guys are going to be the answer. And if neither of these guys are the answer, that could mean you have a new coach next year. It probably means you got a new general manager next year. And I'd say it also probably means when we're looking at Garrett Nussmeier and Drew Aller and Lenora Sellers and whoever else, I'm not going to throw Arch Manning's name out there yet. I think when they would be one of the teams that I think would probably be in that mix.
Albert, you're really good on the contract stuff. Can you break down exactly what the argument is with Cincinnati and Shamar Stewart and what resolution you ultimately see?
I mean, just to kind of give it, to make it as simple as possible for people, it's about like the default language and the guarantee, which, look, like a lot of this stuff it goes two ways, right? Like, so for the player, it becomes really about the agent, and like with the agent, it's about recruiting, and it's, like these little details in a rookie contract can be used against me in recruiting. And so I need to win in these areas because there's so few things that you can actually negotiate over in a slotted system. On the flip side, for the team, it's not so much the player in question; it's the precedent it sets for all players, right? Like, so if there's some default language in there, and a veteran, a veteran player's agent is going to see that, and if the default language is loose, well, then that veteran player is going to pursue that language. So it's really kind of about precedence and recruiting and all of that sort of stuff. Now, in this one in particular, again, that default language in the guarantee more or less means like, here are the things that can disqualify you. And here are the things that can void out your guarantees. And like the reality is, Bobby, it's kind of messed up if you think about it, but the reality is like it really just is protecting. It's who's protected if everything goes wrong. Is the team protected or is the player protected? And that could be things going wrong because of performance, could be things going wrong because of injury. And so, obviously, like now they're sort of down the rabbit hole on this. And you would hope that cooler heads prevail between now and the beginning of camp. But it certainly isn't a great look for the Bengals when they've got, one of their best players in Trey Hendrickson in a contract dispute that's lasted 3 off seasons. They draft his replacement, and now his replacement's involved in this.
Does Trey Hendrickson, do they get something done? Does he show up? Do you think he holds out? Where do you see that going?
I think it's like the least predictable of the contract situations we got out there. Like Micah Parsons, I think that there could be a ton of noise around that one. I think ultimately Jerry gets something done there. I just think that the James Cook is like, I think that one's a little unpredictable, but I think he's going to play. The Trey Hendrickson one, TJ Watt, I think TJ Watt gets done because I think it behooves everybody. Watt, I think he's going to get into the 30s, and the Steelers are obviously all in for right now, and it'd be tough to get into a big fight with TJ Watt after you signed Aaron Rodgers. The Hendrickson thing, just because it's lasted so long, you have, in the 23 offseason, the 1-year Band-Aid extension that was sort of, an effort to give him a market correction. Last year, nothing happens. And now, this has been going on for this long, the player's not going to give you a discount. And, I don't think it would require a market shifting deal. Like Nick Bosa got a market shifting deal at that position. Myles Garrett got a market shifting deal at that position. But I do think it's fair for Trey Hendrickson to look at it and say, well, Max Crosby and Danielle Hunter are 2 guys who are also, third contract guys, and those guys are up in the mid-30s now. And I had 35 sacks the last 2 years, so I should be up in the mid-30s too. Whether or not the Bengals go there, that's an interesting question. And then there's the structural part of it too, which, the Bengals broke a lot of their rules on Jamar Chase's contract, and they didn't break their rules on T. Higgins. So which bucket is Trey Hendrickson in? Is he in the Higgins bucket or the Chase bucket? It's what makes it difficult.
Albert Breer joins you from MMQB. We know, depending who starts for the Browns week 1 and how their season goes, different quarterbacks have different ceilings and floors. Who do you think the organization, out of the 4 they've got right now in camp, who do you think the organization would like to see starting week 1?
Well, it'd be great if a rookie was starting, right? Like if a rookie was legitimately your best option. I'm not sure that that's going to be the case. I still think it's going to be Joe. I think, to me, like the tell is that he's not getting a lot of reps right now. You know what I mean? Like, and they're trying to, and look, it makes sense. It makes a ton of sense. Like logistically, it's hard to run the quarterback competition with 4 guys, so they got to thin the herd, and that means you got to get an evaluation on the younger guys now. And so, I think you're kind of, coming to the point now where, all right, like, how are we going to structure this when we get to the summer? How are we going to make it so we can build an offense and be fair to the other 10 guys in the huddle who have a season to play too? And so we can make like the best decision when we get to the middle of August, So I still think, Joe is going to start the season. And then I think what happens from there is based on team success, right? Like it's based on how Joe plays, obviously, if he is the quarterback. But I think it's also going to ride on, is the team 3-3 where they're still contending coming out of that brutal start to the schedule, or are they 1-5 and 0 or 0-6? Again, like this sort of goes back to the thing I said about Richardson and Lance, where it's like, can you look at your players in a straight face and tell them that Dylan Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders is the right answer? That really matters if you're in a position to contend. If the team is 1-9 or 2-11, well then, I think everybody knows what the score is, and that's when you go to the younger guys. But I think early on, the likelihood is that Joe Flacco is their best option.
Before we get you out of here, Albert, the Jair Alexander release just took place. Kind of interesting to see that happen for a guy that is as young as he is right now. Why didn't this happen earlier? Or was this contractual as far as when he needed to be cut for cap purposes and contract, or was there something else to it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just availability, and then it's about like the competing priorities of the two sides. Bobby, I mean, he's still a really good player. Jeff Hafley called that defense differently when he was in there, so he's still a difference maker. But he missed 10 games in 23. He missed 10 games in 24. They weren't going to pay him the $17.5 million. They tried to work something out where, okay, like let's cut the last year off your deal so you can get to free agency earlier. And then we'll give you a bunch of incentives to earn some of it back. He didn't want to do that. No one else was willing to take on the 17.5 in full. And so that basically gave Jair the leverage to say, well, I'm not going to play ball with you on renegotiating my contract to facilitate a trade. So they tried to trade him in March. They tried to trade him over draft weekend. Again, nobody's willing to take on the full boat. He doesn't want to cooperate with negotiating a pay cut to facilitate a trade because he wants to pick his destination. So now he's got the opportunity to do that. But obviously it's going to be a lot tougher to find a home in June than it would have been in March.
Oh, we appreciate the time. It's kind of weird watching this because you've got like this angelic aura around you. The lighting is perfect.
I know. It's the sun coming in.
It's wonderful. No, it looks good. It adds weight to what you're saying because now it feels like it means even more because you do look so angelic there. Thanks, Albert.
Well, thank you. Maybe I'll have to drive up here and park in this spot every time.
Let's do it. All right, man. Thanks, Al. We'll talk next week.
All right, thanks, guys.
That was Albert Breer, the angel, Albert Breer right there, joining us on Morning Juice. Coming up next, some quick hitters. This is The Juice.
It's been a real journey since 2014 when I first had my injury. I realized that my home was just not working for me and that it was time to ask for help. Homes for Our Troops is really giving me my life back. The shower allows me to go in and turn around with my chair, pull down storage racks, automated door systems, hours of my morning given back to me. Adaptive sports are a huge part of my life, a huge part of my healing journey as well. Homes for Our Troops helped with making sure that I had a home gym so that I can continue to train. This past year, I was able to host Thanksgiving in my home. And it was the first time I was able to have my whole family in one place and I was able to contribute to the meal. There are a lot more veterans in need and Homes for Our Troops is going to be there to help them too.
Homes for Our Troops builds and donates specially adapted custom homes nationwide for severely injured post 9/11 veterans and enables them to rebuild their lives. Join our mission at hfotusa.org.
I'm a wife and the mother of 2 kids, and I've got a good job.
Bye, Mom. See you, Mom.
A pretty important job. Because of my family and my job, I really care about this neighborhood. It's a good neighborhood. Yes, there's some crime. And when I drive to work, like now, I realize that some people here don't trust the police. So the police should be reaching out to this community, and this community should reach out to the police. That's the way to make this a safer place. And when I get to work in the precinct house and put on my uniform, I can tell you, as a police officer, that this department is reaching out to the community, and the community is doing its part. We're building partnerships. This should be happening everywhere. This is how we can all be safer. Get involved. Start the conversation.
Start the conversation and help stop crime. To learn the 5 things you can do, go to ncpc.org/prevent violent crime. A message from the National Crime Prevention Council and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Around the world, Children International and friends like you are giving children in poverty a chance to grow and thrive, to be healthy, to succeed in school, and achieve great things. How do we do it? In the best way possible, by helping ensure access to healthcare, nutrition, and educational opportunities. And most importantly, by empowering youths and their families to get out of poverty and into employment through life skills, computer, and job training. The very tools they need to break the cycle of poverty and build futures full of promise. Because every child deserves a chance to realize their full and best potential. Learn more about how Children International is empowering children and families by going to children.org today. That's children.org.
Proud to be your go-to sports addiction.
WBNS, WBNS FM, HD3 Columbus.
The Fan 3, Ohio sports destination. Attack and dominate, YouTubers. You're locked into Morning Juice.
Morning Juice. Second hour of the program. Final hour of the program. Bobby, some people in the chat on almost a daily basis want us to do a third hour.
Yeah, I've heard that.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, if they want to compensate for it, then that's in the conversation set. But that was never even offered during all this stuff.
Would you do an hour earlier? Could you do 5 to 8? No, Shark, you're not going to be your Shark. No.
I know, but
it won't affect you at all. Would you do 5 to 8?
5.
No, nobody's up at 5.
So you wouldn't do 5 to 8?
No, I wouldn't
if
do
it was
5 to 8.
If it was crowdsourced.
What does that mean?
Funded.
Crowdfunded?
Crowdfunded.
No, I wouldn't do 5 to 8.
Well, everything's got a price, Bob.
It does, Bob. Everything does have a price.
There is a point, though, where I told you this, man. Like, at some point in my life, time is the most precious commodity that you have.
That's exactly right. And, Bob, more doesn't always mean better. We could do a 6-hour show, but it'd be a much worse show.
Let's tap the brakes on much worse show, because that you can still phrasing wise, you could say it wouldn't be as good of a show. That's one thing. To call it a much worse show means it's already worse.
Let's put it this way: we cram a lot into 2 hours.
We do.
If we were doing a 3-hour show, we probably wouldn't get to much more content.
I think there's a lot of
spread
content.
it out.
I think we
over 3 hours instead of 2.
I don't know.
Think how good this show would be if we only had 60 minutes.
Be like concentrate. It's like drinking syrup. Give me you know what? Give me a glass of syrup over there.
Thick.
And I'll down with a side of pancake
show.
afterward. Just shove it in my mouth. Don't say that.
I watched my son take a triple stack of they weren't big pancakes. They were probably about the size of like a Big Mac burger, like a bun. And I actually got them when we went to Pancake House the other day. I get I'll get an omelet. And then you get a side of pancakes. You can up them for like $1 to get chocolate chips on them, which for my kids, that makes all the difference in the world.
Sure.
So we do that. And I was like, dude, they've been sitting there for a couple of days. You haven't eaten them yet. And he just grabs them, takes them like a stack, and just starts eating them and
like
walking
a sandwich.
around. Like a sandwich.
You guys pancake or waffle guys?
I mean, a pancake is a waffle. It's the same thing. It's just a different shape.
It's the same batter.
It's the same batter. Although I will say this, when I was in New Orleans, they had waffles down there when we were playing in a game. This is why I always eat the same thing, because instead I get lured and I was like, let me try. New Orleans, they got this great decadent food, and I swear the waffle batter was made with cake mix. I mean, it was the best. It was the best waffle batter I'd ever had in my life. Like the beignet mix or whatever. I mean, it was so good. But I will have, if it's a good waffle, I'll have it. But I'm generally a pancake guy. Probably French toast over both.
Oh, French toast is the king. Yes, I'm with you on that one. French toast
My
is the
mom
absolute
makes really
king.
good French toast. She will either make it with hamburger buns, or she gets like the real thick Texas toast. Like the hamburger buns are nice because they're porous on the one side, so they can really sop up all the batter.
Now you're talking like Schlegs.
Oh, my mom, it's amazing. Like that was her secret. And I always wonder, like, number one, we'd always do it in whatever's going bad so you don't have to throw it away. And you want the bread to be a little stale when you make it. So like the bread that was kind of stale in the buns, we'd have it. And then because you want it to be firmer so that way you could sop up more of the stuff, the batter, and you put it on there. She always make that before like swim meets and early morning games and things. You'd come down, she'd make it the night before, and they'd just be sitting there and just grab that. And she'd put the butter on it while it was still hot so it would like kind of melt throughout it. It was really good. But I don't eat that much anymore because I can't. My kids are like, why don't you eat? I was like, because you'd have to roll me out of here.
You just described that in a way that like a Edgar Allan Poe would. That whole description of how the waffle and everything, Bob, it was very detailed.
Well, I mean,
and it feels like you miss it.
Well, I'll do that for my kids. We have my mom would make them on this big griddle, and then we got our stove. We had a built-in griddle put on it, and so when my daughter, like people would have friends, have sleepovers, we'd come over, we'd hanging out, and at night before I'd go to bed, have a handful of cocktails. It's like, all right, I would say do this now. I don't want to wake up and do it at 7 o'clock. I'd rather just cook
do it at night.
Yeah, I do it at night. Set the
Bob,
bar
how
in.
much is a handful of cocktails? Is that 5?
Here's the
Is
thing.
that 5 cocktails?
I've got my NFL concussion appointment.
A concussion appointment?
I've got a bigger hand. Than you.
Yeah.
My mom goes, I have this doctor's appointment for my concussion. You got a concussion? I go, hold up. What do you think is more realistic? The fact that I got a concussion or I'd actually go see a doctor if I got a concussion? She's like, you're right. Neither. I'm like, yeah, and if I got a concussion, I'm not going to go to a doctor for one. What the hell are they going to do? Oh, hey, rest. I mean, like, if I have a cranial bleed, maybe, and I'm like, feel like my head's about to explode, possibly, but the concussion for making you turn into a moron, going full Joe Biden at the end of life, whatever that is, the concussion settlements thing. Dude, I've got that on Friday. And then the doc that fill out the stuff beforehand, it's all in these portals now and everything, which is good because they had 90% of the information saved. But they asked, like, do you use drugs? No. Are you sexually active? And then it gave me like 4 or 5 options for my partners. It was pretty remarkable. And I was like, can I just click one or can I check multiple?
Right.
I mean, I'm telling you, it had a lot of, it's like, man, a lot of options for my gender as well. So I was like, what am I and who am I hooking up with? Like,
that would be depressing.
The possibilities used to just kind of be maybe 2 possibilities. I mean, there was a lot of options in here, like with what you could be and who you could be mating with, I will say. And then, do you smoke or use tobacco? No. And then the last one was like, do you drink? And it's like, okay. And then it broke it down to cans of beer, glasses of wine, and shots of liquor.
Daily, weekly, monthly,
hourly.
They say weekly. And like, at least this, they had a fill-in box. Because usually it's like 0 to 2, 3 to 4, 5 to 7, 7 to 10, 7 to 9, 10 plus. I'm like, over the course of a week? I'm like, dude, a week? Like, that's 7 days. Like, I weighed, like, especially when I was younger, I weighed 255 pounds. I'm like, I could do 10 plus in a night and I'd still be fine. Like, I mean, I had probably a bottle of wine last night, so that would be technically 4 drinks, and that's not even a mega pint in Johnny Depp's world. Poured myself a mega pint because I thought it necessary at the time. I was like, that's 4, and that's a Wednesday night. I'm like, I mean, I guess there are people that indulge less. I mean, it makes it sound like I'm probably an alcoholic.
Yeah,
but I mean,
me, I'm one.
Who indulges less?
Yeah, I haven't had a pint of wine in the last year combined.
Well, so I started breaking down. I don't drink a ton of beer. In the summer, I'll drink some.
When you do, it's garage beer.
Of course.
Yes.
And I'll drink it when it's in the summer. I drink it at the pool. Really, my 2 places are like, it's like Shawshank Redemption. I'll drink it after I've been like doing some work outside. And last night I debated whether having some because I put down these pavers I got from Ohio Mulch and made these little pathways. And so it was like hot working outside. I was like, did I grab a beer? Okay. But and then I'd drink some liquor, but mostly wine. And so I kind of broke it down. I put 10 and 10 for each, and I probably undershot it. I mean, if I'm really being honest. I mean, on Fridays, dude, the weekend starts for me on Friday as soon as my last engagement's done. And even if I'm doing XM on Friday from 3 to 6, which I would say, what's my last impediment to being able to enjoy myself? Meaning, do I have to drive my kids in a car or pick other people's kids up? Because obviously I'm going to be responsible for that. That's why I said get the carpool going so I don't have to do it. I'll take or pick up.
Yeah.
But it's like, what's the last thing that I have to do something I can be responsible for? And I don't have to drive. And a lot of time, if we're going to drive, I can have, like, the best thing is my son, he'll be getting his license here in December, so then he can drive. My neighbors, we have their daughters drive us if we're going to go to dinner. But I'll start having some cocktails at, 2:30 on Friday. Why not? I'm at 2:30 on Thursday. Shut it down early and get in here with you, yahoos.
But now, when you said the other day, we were talking about this, that we're going to do, I know you looked at the clock, Sharp. We'll do quick hitters in the next segment.
Time is a flat circle in
I know.
here.
But
I told Rothman yesterday, his clock integrity was terrible. You'd love being over here in the little room.
Oh, yeah.
In the closet.
It's wonderful.
Closet.
Yeah.
I walked in and said, I got lost in there. I was wandering around. There's so much space. Nowhere to go.
Okay, let me ask you this. I was going to get this in the next segment. We'll do it now. Like, question for you. I was looking at this recently. This 25-year stretch of Ohio State football has to be the greatest 25-year stretch in Ohio State football history.
Absolutely.
And it's not even
not even close.
That's what I'm thinking too.
You think?
Yeah.
What would you say is better though, Bob?
I mean,
which one?
Woody's run.
You can pick, maybe 68 to 75.
That's not 25 years.
I know.
But I would say you could pick. They won it in 54.
54.
And they won, and Hop won the Heisman in 55. Or was that? Yeah.
And then they won it in 57.
They won it in 57. They won it in
61. Yeah.
They won it in 68. And then, so 50, I would say 54 to 79, because 79 was Bruce's first year,
right?
Where they went 10-1.
Sure.
11-1.
11-1, and should have won the national championship if they could have finished off UCLA
right
after they beat them earlier that year.
No, that was thinking of UCLA. You're thinking of 76. UCLA beat Vermeil.
Yes, that was with Archie.
Right.
Yep. Okay, but yes, if they would have been able to win that in 90, so you're thinking 54, 57, 61, 68. You have the 69 and 70 in there, which were great. And then you have all of Archie's years and Bruce's first year. I would say this is close to that. I don't know if it's better.
This is better. It's much better.
I wasn't alive to see it.
I know, but you're talking about national championships, and you're right about that. There were more national championships then.
But there was also
the consistency.
There was rough years.
There were rough years.
There were some 6 and 4 years, 6 and 3 or whatever.
67, like they said, Woody was about to get fired until 68.
That's when they had tri-champions, including Indiana.
Which is amazing, yeah.
That was Indiana's last Big Ten championship.
But actually, there were too many. There were some down years there for Woody. And the worst year.
The mid-60s were rough for him.
Sure, but the worst year, though, since 2000 really has been not his fault. Luke's year.
Oh, yeah.
In the that's been the one down year really since 2000, Bob, I think, right? I can't think of another year that was more that was just I should disappoint because we know what to expect with that Luke year.
2004. We lost to Indiana. We lost to Northwestern for the first time in 34 years. First time Ohio State had lost 3 consecutive games in 30 some odd years.
But you finished off the year great.
We beat Michigan and we beat Les Miles in the Alamo Bowl.
That's right.
I looked at it, though. I was looking at the number of wins. There was a chart I saw, number of...
Ohio State has never been the winningest team in any decade.
In any decade? I know they got the most wins in the last...
Yeah, in the country.
They got the most wins in the last 25 years, but yeah, decade. That is interesting.
That there's never been a decade where they've been the winningest team.
But in the Urban / Ryan run here, have we...
Which is crazy.
Have we had a season where we've lost more than 2 games?
No, I don't think so. Right?
No.
I don't believe so.
No.
I know Ryan hasn't lost more than 2. And
Urban
lost, 9 games in 6 years or 7 years. So, I mean, National championships, I'll give you that. Woody in his 28-year
There was a lot
run.
of really good because Archie, the 4 years with him, they never won it.
Right.
69, the 68 to 75.
Well, think about 68 to 70.
Yeah.
They lost 2 games in
Right.
3 years. I don't want to say easily, but they very well could have won 3 straight national championships.
And then Archie hits the scene, and you have Gradishar in there at the beginning and Hicks. But, I mean, they go 3-0-1 against Michigan, never won a national championship, probably should have. So you look at that 6-7 year run, I mean, that's pretty damn good.
Yeah.
I think I'd take this one over that.
But you could argue, I mean, you look, in 2002, we won it. 03 was very close. 5 possibly could have. They play in 6 and 7 for it. Probably, even despite in 7, they just had there was people look at the Florida game as the one that got away. That LSU game should have been won. That's the one that they did not execute well in that game.
I agree, and they lost by 14.
Oh, yeah.
But you look at that thing statistically.
Oh,
they
had a pump
LSU
block,
had
yeah.
its lowest offensive yards day of the season,
Right.
and gave up the most yards they had given up that.
They played
and that
bad
was a
situational
2-loss
ball.
LSU team, the
Sure.
only 2-loss team to ever get into the BCS. We had so many 15-yard
Oh, yeah.
penalties in that game. It was driving me crazy.
So there's that. Then you think about the 2009 team. Yeah, Tress's last year. 10.
No, 10.
10 was last
I
year.
mean, that was
One loss.
That was close. The 9 team with Malcolm and James, their senior year, very, very good. The 12 team should have won a national championship. They would have played Notre Dame and beat them.
You're right. Although that wasn't what you would call.
That would have been the worst national champion since they would have been way worse than LSU. But that's just functionally how it worked.
Yeah.
And then 14 and 15, both very good. And then Ryan.
I think 2019 was.
That was one of the best teams
Yeah.
in college football history.
Yeah. It's
You're not wrong. I don't know. I never watched those older teams play, and I forget some of the down years that you would have been younger growing up and probably seeing that with Woody. I just look at that in totality of some of the quality of those teams and not maybe looking at some of the valleys.
I mean, look at Woody's last year. They were 7-4, I think, when they
They lost to Clemson in the
Right.
bowl game, but even the year before that, they got
drilled
annihilated by
Alabama. That was like the Sugar Bowl, like the 35-6 game or something. When everyone was talking about the Woody versus Bear, matchup.
Yep. Only time it happened. And think about his last 3 games against Michigan.
Right, yeah.
Ohio State didn't score a touchdown.
Right, yeah.
Really?
Yes.
The last
that's bad.
That's what I would say. Like, when I look at this, I can't think of
everybody wants to crap on Ryan. I'm like, dude, you're telling me Woody Hayes, his last 3 years, they didn't score a touchdown?
Right.
Come on.
Could you imagine
Oh, that's bad.
a 4-loss team, what this town would turn
Oh, my
into?
gosh.
Well, that's what Urban's comments were about Lincoln Riley and talking about things. Because you could try going 8-5 at Ohio State and see what happens.
I mean, it'd be Armageddon here. Yep. It'd be terrible. Like, it would be. I try to think about that. We lived through the Cooper years and the Earl Bruce years. And the Cooper years weren't terrible by any means, but they were games that
The
lost to won.
93 to 98 run is
no
about
doubt.
as good as you're going to get.
But like the years that Earl Bruce went 9-3 and hung on to the job, and I liked a lot of things Earl did. But
I'll tell you something, buddy.
But
you couldn't have that now here.
No, you couldn't have the Cooper years here.
No, you couldn't either. You're right. Yeah.
I mean, Earl was 81, 29, and 1.
Right.
And that was pretty good.
Dude, Ryan's won like 70 games and lost like
70 and 10.
70 and 10.
Yeah, the Earl Bruce, when he got fired, he was the winningest coach in the Big Ten as far as percentage-wise goes at the time.
Right.
Which
he had
was
a better winning percentage than Woody.
Yes, and it was up in arms. How can you not everyone, because there were a lot of people that wanted him gone. And then as soon as he was gone, there was a much louder, what was the silent majority? Is that what Nixon would have called him? Is that what he called it?
Yeah.
Silent majority? That all of a sudden was like, oh, I can't believe you got rid of Earl Bruce. Look at all the games he won. He's a Buckeye, all these things, whatever, But yeah, I can't imagine having a stretch like that now with any coach at Ohio State where you're losing continually, like you're 9-3 or whatever. That's your record. It would what it would do to the town, the city. I say town, it's a city. What would do to the city though, to the state? Just the way fans would react. Yep. All right, coming up next, quick hitters.
In honor of all those we've lost to cancer and those still fighting and thriving, like basketball analyst and cancer champion Dick Vitale.
I want to beat cancer. I'm going to beat it. That's no doubt in my mind. I'm going to win this battle.
Defeating cancer will take all of us. Join our team to help fund game-changing research that saves lives. At the V Foundation, V is for victory over cancer. V is for victory over the odds. V is for victory over health disparities, victory over setbacks, victory over the unknown. V is for victory over giving up.
Don't give up. Don't ever give up.
Donate to the V Foundation to join our team and help save lives.
Cancer can take away all my physical abilities. It cannot touch my mind, it cannot touch my heart, and it cannot touch my soul.
100% of donations fund game-changing cancer research. Donate now to the V Foundation at v.org.
You know a thing or two about the moments in life that matter. You've seized those moments to embrace joy, accomplish great things, and build meaningful relationships. Is it time now to sit back and reflect on a life well lived? Maybe. Or maybe there's more to be done. Maybe this is the most important moment you've encountered yet. By volunteering with AmeriCorps Seniors, you can seize the moment, lend a hand, and get back more than you give. We connect you to local volunteer organizations with opportunities that fit your schedule and match your interests. Through AmeriCorps Seniors, you can support people in times of need and make your community stronger. You can become a companion to your older neighbors, brightening their days with friendship. You can even become a mentor for young people, serving as a role model and enriching their lives. Are you ready to seize your moment? Visit AmeriCorps.gov/yourmoment and get started today.
I'm Shanola Hampton. Every day, millions of people face hunger. Today, I will share with you some of their experiences. I'm stuck between paying for medications or paying for food. John from Maine. After paying my bills, I can buy groceries. It's sad to say, food comes last. Alice from Oregon. I thought pantries were for less fortunate people, but anybody could be less fortunate in a day or even a second. Claire from Virginia. The Feeding America network of food banks helps provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. No one should have to worry where their next meal will come from. Together, we can end hunger. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.
Bobby played for the Dallas Cowboys. Tito wears assless chaps.
I'm dead sexy.
You're locked into Morning Juice.
Morning Juice. Thanks so much for being here with us today on this Thursday. Chiming in on the chat. We love that always. Lots of we get people, and I'm glad they fact check us sometimes. We get into some different conversations on the chat. Touched a lot on some wedding rings, engagement, things like that yesterday. And but now, let's do some quick hitters.
Morning Juice presents Quick Hitters.
Sponsored by Dr. Mark Levy. If you're snoring and not sleeping, call Dr. Mark Levy today at 1-800-MORE-SLEEP.
Good morning, Shark.
Good morning, gentlemen. It is always good to see you. Last week, the New York Knicks shockingly fired Tom Thibodeau, despite the fact that he led them to the Eastern Conference Finals. Replacing him has not been easy for New York. Jay Wright of Villanova told them he wasn't interested in coming out of retirement. The Knicks requested an interview with Houston coach Ime Udoka. The Rockets said no. They requested an interview with Minnesota's Chris Finch. The Timberwolves said no. The Knicks requested an interview with Dallas's Jason Kidd. The Mavs said no. Chicago's Billy Donovan. Bulls said no. And they requested permission to speak with Atlanta's Quinn Snyder. The Hawks said no. Tito, you know who's available?
Who's available?
Tom Thibodeau.
Tom Thibodeau's available. Shark, I think it would be smarter right now and snarky. What the Knicks should do is send an email to the league and then blind CC every other franchise and just say, who can we talk to? And give me a list of names, because everyone's rejected them. It looks ridiculous the way they're doing this. And I don't like the way this process plays out either, Bob, because Kid reportedly expressed interest in speaking to the Knicks. You're the coach of the Mavericks. They are paying you to be their head coach. By you saying, I'd like to talk to another team, that's like when you threaten divorce, you're already divorced. And I feel like that's what this is here. Now, Jason Kidd's done this before, kind of flirt with other teams and things like that in his career, but it would bother me quite a bit as a franchise if my head coach comes to me and says, I'd like to talk to this other team. And I find it very, I think the Knicks...
maybe that speaks to the state of what your... maybe that speaks to the state of where your organization is at.
Right.
It says a little bit more about you than it does about them.
It says a lot about them. But I'm saying the Knicks, first of all, to have the gall to think that, we're some fantastic franchise and what you want to coach. And then, so to actually think that, all these guys, they keep getting rejected, Bobby, and ask enough people to keep saying, no, it's going to look even worse for you. They need to, it's clear on this, they did not have an exit plan. Did not have something in mind, something firm where
maybe
we know we'll get this.
They just, they thought it would be easier to execute than they realized. Or they thought they would be more appealing than maybe what they are. They had maybe a blind spot in how other people view them versus how they view themselves.
And I'm not saying they made the wrong choice in making a coaching change. I'm not sure if Thibodeau will be the guy who could take them over the top and lead them. I think,
but I don't know if you could say that based upon what you saw this year.
No,
based upon what I witnessed, I couldn't say that I didn't think he would be the guy.
Well, a lot of things had to break right for them to get where they were.
That is true.
Look, I still contend if Jason Tatum's healthy, the Celtics are the ones playing in the finals.
No.
You don't think so?
That happened in Game 5.
They
were down 3-1.
I think if Tatum would stayed healthy, they would have ended up winning that series.
Let Tito's terrible takes. He's going to live and die on that hill, Shark.
Absolutely.
You're not going to be able to convince him. Jason Tatum could have got hurt walking off the court in Game 6. And
I still would say that, yes.
If Tatum wouldn't have gotten hurt, then they had a chance.
Which coach in the four major professional sports has the least impact? Which head coach or manager, I should say? Is it baseball?
I think it's baseball.
You think it's baseball is the least impact on,
I would say,
the success of the team?
During the game.
During the game. In-game stuff. I mean, pinch hitting, I'm not going to discredit that and say it's not important.
Pitching changes, all that stuff. I mean, that's important, but their in-game decisions happen, every 3-4 innings.
So, okay, that's in-game. How about in-season? Which one has the least impact?
Well,
is that also baseball?
I don't know enough about hockey to know how important a coach is. Obviously important when it comes to culture, but they all are when it comes to culture and a winning attitude. It's amazing to me in football how you can have a 500 team and bring in a coach who's been successple in the past, like Parcells.
Right.
It didn't matter where he went. He turned the franchise.
He did.
Turned the franchise around.
Yep.
So I think football has the most impact. Baseball has the least. But I don't know enough about hockey to know how big a deal a coach is.
Look, I'm with you on that. It feels like hockey should have it. Like, with how many line changes you have to, like, that kind of stuff you do throughout the game, I feel like hockey's pretty impactful, like the hockey coach there on that. And I know you got a couple of assistants that are helping out with that as well, but
that's
still.
kind of a staff thing.
Right. I couldn't even get I could get the line changes right playing the old Sega Genesis. I'm played in NHL 92. I'd take the line changes off because I could never figure out which ones to put in.
Well, I mean, that might say more about you than anything else. But I would say, football is number one because you're actually calling the plays and making
every play.
Every play. It's the continuous free flow games. There's less coaching involved. And then baseball, you're not telling the guy whether to swing or not on a pitch, or you're not telling a guy what pitch to throw. You could argue that the catcher might be he might be the coach.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? When you're talking about who's making the decisions out there, the catcher's the one calling the game. So that's where I'd kind of rank it. Hockey and basketball, it just depends right there.
Before you go to the next one, Shark.
Yeah.
The golf from Ohio State, Maxwell Moldovan.
Yeah.
Eagled number one. He's in the lead, 2 under. Eagled a par 4. Eagled number 1 at the U.S. Open in the lead at -2. Of course, it's easy. Go ahead.
The enhanced games are planned for Las Vegas next year. Athletes will compete in various competitions while being encouraged to juice In fact, organizers of the enhanced games promise $1 million bonuses if an athlete breaks a world record while using performance-enhancing drugs. But will those games actually take place? The global watchdog of doping in sports, WADA, is urging public authorities to shut down the games. They say it normalizes the use of potentially dangerous drugs. Bob, you're a big fan of juicing. Do you think the enhanced games should be shut down?
No.
I know you want to see it.
I want to see the bounds of humanity. I want to see the bounds of human potential, what you can do. We've got all the science in all the world here and everything that we can do. Hell, they're building viruses in labs across the world. We're doing all.
Could a human being high jump 8.5 feet?
I don't know. Can you cross a human being with a kangaroo? Let's just get the island of
That's
Dr.
safer.
Moreau.
That's safer.
Yeah, we're going to inject you with some kangaroo
I'll tell
blood.
you this: if you have those guys that are monitored and they are looking after them and taking care of them, and there are downsides to performance-enhancing drugs, no doubt. But most of the issues that have always been has been with the abuse of them and the improper use and lack of monitoring that you would have with that. As long as those guys are getting blood tests and going and seeing their doctor on a regular basis, you should go watch the show Icarus. Beam got me hooked on that one about the doping in cycling, and these guys go to doctors all the time, and they're always checking their blood, and they're doing this. They're probably healthier than 99% of humans.
A little different than pro wrestling.
Yeah, this
or
isn't some dude in the back of Gold's Gym saying, should I do 1 cc or 5? More is better. Let's just do more.
Come on, Bane. Yeah.
Which is what I talked to James Laurinaitis' dad, Joe, about that. He's like, hell, if some worked, more was always better, right? That's kind of what everybody thought. So he goes, but that was the problem with this. He goes, this is much different. And the WADA, once it's shut down, normalizes it. What do you think? Little kids are going to go, high school kids are going to go find steroids. You know how hard that crap is to find and to administer and handle it all? I want to see how fast human beings can be. Horses haven't got faster in 70 years. Let's see if human beings, I want to see someone run a 9-second 100 meters.
Oh, my gosh.
No, see, this scares the hell out of me, Bobby.
I want to see a human being run 30 miles an hour.
I don't want to.
Let's go. Why? You scared of it?
Yeah, I am scared
It's the only way we're going to be able to defend ourselves against the robots.
I'm more scared about this than the robots. This scares me.
No
the
way.
possibility of this scares more than the robots.
This is our only solution to stopping them.
Yeah, I know
they don't need to sleep. They don't need to eat. They don't feel pain. They're smarter than we are. They'll be able to think and compute a billion things a second. Bobby, this is our only chance.
Look, if they get out of control, all you got to do is unplug them. Now, the thing with
Right, do they have their own power sources by then?
Just go unplug it, turn the power off, you'll be fine. Bobby, with the human side of this, yeah, you said that if someone goes out there and does all these great things, they will not. It's not like all of a sudden we have 9-year-old kids out there doing steroids because they are hard to find. Okay.
Well, not 9-year-old, but 16-year-old.
I was going to say, but as fathers, parents of today, though, when they push kids into sports. Okay.
If the parents want to push juice on their kids, you know what? Then good for you, parent. You're going to have to live with that.
Okay.
I'm not going to parent somebody else's parent.
But it'll put your kid at a disadvantage.
You think that there's people out there that are going to knowingly give their 16-year-old kids steroids?
If they can get a $1 million bonus at the enhanced games for throwing the javelin out of the stadium,
that's fine.
Don't you think that wait, Marinovich's dad wouldn't have done that with him?
Okay, that's one.
I know. I'm saying
another.
There's other Marinoviches out there, I'm sure. Guys that have tried to train their kids for this.
That's fine. I don't even know where people would know to go to get steroids.
So I have a testosterone.
Yes, you do know that. You don't know that?
Like,
you don't know where you can get steroids?
To get them illegally? Like buy them on the street? I don't know anybody I could get steroids on the street from.
Yeah, but this wouldn't be illegally.
No doctor is going to prescribe steroids to a child.
Okay, I'm going to tell you this now.
So anything administered outside of that is illegal because they're controlled substances.
As you've heard on this radio station many times, some men suffer from low T.
That's testosterone.
No, let me finish though. I know, let me finish though. I suffer from low T. No one's paying me to say that. Suffer's a strong word, by the way. I have low T. I've got a gel.
Hey, have you talked to the sales department? They can probably get you an endorsement.
I'd rather have windows, but so I've got a gel I apply daily to like my chest region.
To your shaft.
a testosterone thing.
Are you growing boobs?
Before I've had those long before the testosterone thing. I've got the moobs. So, Bobby, you tell me we show up for, like, say, flag football. If I've put this on Artie a few times,
it won't help him.
It won't help him, really?
No.
So stop doing it.
I guess if you want to shorten his height and.
See, that's the thing, Bob. They were prescribed for Tito, but he's giving them to his
First
kids.
of all, I'm not giving it to him. No, I'm not doing that, Shark. That was a joke. I'm not actually giving it to him.
I'm saying Bobby said no 16-year-old is going to get a prescription for it.
But for you walking into a doctor, testosterone is not going to do anything for that.
I'm talking about
getting Winstrol and Deca.
I
know.
I feel like I've gone back 10 years.
Stuff,
I've got more energy. I'm better in the bedroom.
You getting that prescribed from a doctor is going to be incredibly difficult. And number one, they're going to look at you and say, "Are you healthy enough for us to give this to you?" That off, probably not. You maybe, Shark, but they'll say, "Why are you going to get this?"
You tell me they wouldn't give. I bet I'd get a steroid from a doctor before Shark could.
I don't know. I mean, it's interesting. They're hard on your heart.
Okay.
If you're not in good shape and you're not going to work out, they're only going to make you fat anyway.
Shark and I told this before you got in here. Last time I tried to run, I was playing wiffle ball with Artie, and since I don't run very much, Bobby,
run very often is what you mean.
Yeah. Well, yes, on both counts. I recognized very early on that the momentum from going back and then forward kind of thing has changed in my body. And so I damn near fell over every time I started to.
You call that the
I don't say take off.
Relocation of your center of gravity.
That's what it is. Yes, again. So I didn't feel very confident in those first few steps the entire time we were playing wiffle ball.
Not even really the fact that your body mass has shifted, which is part of it. It's the fact that your legs are probably weak as water now. So you can't drive and run. You'll fall on your face.
And, Bob, balance is the first thing to go.
Yeah, but
it's not your sex drive, it's balance. And I told you yesterday I fell off a paddleboard.
Right.
With your phone in your pocket.
With my phone in my pocket.
I would say you having a phone in your pocket is far more concerning than you falling off the paddleboard.
That's a different level thing. Bobby, I don't want this thing to go through because I don't want to see these numbers come up because it's going to encourage people to do it.
That's whatever.
And it's going to shatter, much like when Bonds did it. I hate Barry Bonds to this day because Hank Aaron's the damn home run king, okay? And I hate Mark McGwire. And, I know Bonds broke that record. So I'm saying, but Roger Maris, or now maybe Aaron Judge, I guess, would be the home run. I don't want to see guys. Clemens screwed up the number of people Cy Young's won. Clemens, I hate when guys have done this, Bobby, because it ruins the history of the game.
These guys aren't playing in Major League Baseball or any other sport. But
it's going to happen, though.
Oh, how's it going to happen?
I'm saying, like, if all of a sudden, if like your thing about the 9-second 100, right? Yeah. If that happens.
That's great.
First of all, Mandarich is going to be pissed off, and so will Ben Johnson, because, like, hey, seriously, we tried telling you guys this could work. But if that happens, though, Bobby, all of a sudden that changed our expectations.
Yeah.
But I want to change based on having better athletes, better trained athletes, healthier athletes, the natural way, not from enhancements like that.
Well, and everything else you see will be normal athletes. And then you'll realize this is what human beings are capable of doing. Train to try to get there or don't, but that's the bounds of humanity. And by the way, when you're talking about track and field and like swimming, those are objective, independent, like time sports. So you're not competing. You're not going head to head relatively against anyone else. Barry Bonds was playing against pitchers who were all on steroids. Roger Clemens was throwing against hitters who mostly were on steroids.
I don't think mostly. Do you think mostly?
I've had this argument with Shark, and I'll have it till the end of time. The reason the NFL passed drug testing in the 80s is because everybody wanted to play on a fair playing field because there weren't many guys using steroids. The reason Major League Baseball never passed a steroid testing policy is because most of the guys were using them or the other guys were too cowardly to stand up and say something.
So you think more than half the players?
I don't know if it's more than half, but it was probably close.
Wow. Yeah, see, now I'm further
The reason Major League Baseball
Don't give me about the union shit, the union crap.
It was Donald Fear. It was Donald Fear.
Okay, so I'm going to listen.
That's all it is. It was Donald Fear.
I'm going to listen to some
have
union
rights.
trash.
You can't drug test us.
Okay, so I'm going to give up money to other players because of that. I would punch Donald Fear in the face.
That's what they should have done.
Yes, exactly, but they were too cowardly to do it, or they said if you can't beat them, join him. Donald Fear was the problem, but then everybody else got on board.
I have a really long.
I know it's almost
what
going
has
to
you
now.
juice.
But I love seeing you guys get all animated. That was fun for me.
Yeah,
I
this
like
has
to not
happened
be
a
in my
lot.
calls.
Because I've
years.
had this discussion with my dad for years, and he's like, why did you vote for it? It wasn't about rights. It's about I wanted to make sure I'm playing against guys who aren't on steroids, but they didn't care about that. Shark.
You were right because you had a leader who was encouraging it,
and so then
baseball
everybody
had
else
a
got
leader who said, "No, don't listen to them. They have no right to come in and stick a needle in your arm or take a urine
And then that's
sample."
fine. So all the other guys got on board with it.
What's
and
your
that's my
dad
point
doing?
is I was telling you more guys use than everybody believes because that's the only way you could compete.
What's your dad doing July 2nd?
I don't know.
Let's get him in here. He can be a producer. Have him learn some of the buttons.
Oh, my dad can hardly. He can't even operate an iPhone.
He didn't pass his balance test.
All right, that's it for Quick Hitters. Coming up next, we are going to wrap things up. Tell you who's got us juice. We love you. Morning Juice.
1 in 4 Americans today are living with a disability. I'm one of them. I care deeply about creating a world we can all fully participate in, free from stigma, misperceptions, and barriers. And we've got a trusted ally on our side, an organization we can rely on, Easter Seals. Rooted in communities nationwide, Easter Seals helps empower millions of people, regardless of age or disability, through its life-changing services and powerful advocacy. Today and every day, Easter Seals is leading the way to full equity, inclusion, and access to healthcare, employment, and education for people with disabilities, families, and communities. That's my Easter Seals. Make it yours. Learn more and get involved at easterseals.com.
The impact of a meal goes well beyond feeding our bodies, because when people don't have to worry about where their next meal is coming from, they can truly thrive, like Marta.
And now we'll hear from our class valedictorian, who with our hard work never ceases to amaze us. Please welcome Marta Moreno.
And Alex.
Hey, Alex, how did the interview go?
I did it! I got the job! I can't believe it!
I knew it. Let's meet up later to celebrate.
And Diego.
Mom! I got first place at the science fair with my volcano project.
That's amazing, sweetie. Congratulations.
Because when people are fed, futures are nourished, and everyone deserves to live a full life. Join the movement to end hunger at feedingamerica.org/actnow. feedingamerica.org/actnow. A public service announcement brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
My son Ian was diagnosed with a brain tumor at the age of 16 months. The outlook was pretty rough. I mean, it was, we had no hope until St. Jude rescued us. I mean, they saved him. To this date, we are 12 years into this journey, and from day one, we've never once seen a bill. It gave us the peace of mind to know that we're there with our son, and we're gonna beat cancer together. Now, he is doing really, really well. He's alive because of what St. Jude has done. He's here because of the doctors who came before, their blood, their sweat, their tears, the knowledge accumulated and shared, with everyone else around the world. This is how we get rid of this, how we help kids beat cancer all over. It's the future.
Together, we will make cures possible for every child everywhere. Learn more at stjude.org.
Tito has had 2 wives. They've both been named Heather. If you know someone named Heather, please warn her. This is Morning Juice.
Final segment of the program. Let's do what's got you juiced.
What's got you juiced?
Sponsored by Billiards Plus. Find your next grill and everything you need for the master griller. Billiards Plus on Dublin Center Drive in Dublin.
Oh, Bobby, it's Thursday. As a savvy, cagey veteran that I am, I'm pretty sure you're not first.
Did you ever see Schlegels tackle the fan on the sidelines? Coming off the sidelines?
I've had this argument. I think it was staged, but yeah, go ahead.
All right. This is him talking about it.
When I slammed that guy, I was a champion wrestler, man. It's not like I'm trying to hurt that guy. I lateral dropped him. I didn't try to bury him through the turf. His head was never exposed. Veins were popping out. Yes, you can't lateral drop somebody softly, but yet you can also do it to where you're not going to hurt them.
He did it gently.
I think it was staged, Shark.
It was not staged.
If you see the perfect picture, the photo of him doing it, it is so well done. It's like the photographer knew it was coming. That's all I'm saying.
You mean Burb? No, because they watched the guy run out on the field, so you start taking pictures of it.
They had the camera, I think, probably tethered to the ground somehow at the time because they knew at this point in the game, this guy's running across. They probably practiced it. I respect
that's like saying they get a great shot during the game and they knew with a play.
Come on, Tito.
Go ahead.
Conspiracy theorist. You probably think OJ killed his wife. Exactly. June 11th, 2010. Carlos Santana made his major league debut with the then Cleveland Indians. Santana is now in his third stint with the team. And on the 15th anniversary of his debut yesterday,
he swings and sends it deep right center field. This ball is gone. Carlos Santana, his first home run of the year, right-handed. A grand slam to right center. A 5-0 Cleveland lead.
That is Tommy Hamilton on WTAM. In their first 5 games against the Reds this season, the Tribe scored 10 runs, a combined 10 runs in 5 games, and they scored 11 yesterday. Also, I probably should add for Tito's sake, the Reds won the season series 5-1. They get to hoist the cup. Just wait till next year. Seems like every game, Jose Ramirez climbs another all-time leaders category in Cleveland history. Yesterday, an RBI double in the first. That's 380 career doubles for Jose. That ranks third on Cleveland's all-time doubles list. Do you know who is ahead of him, Tito?
Who's ahead of him on the doubles list?
Yep.
Lou Boudreau.
No.
Manny?
No.
Who else would have played there for a long? Not Albert Bell.
Nope.
Tommy?
Nope.
Gosh, we're running out of answers here.
2 Hall of Famers.
2 Hall of Famers ahead of him?
Yeah.
I don't know then. That's before my time.
Tris Speaker.
Okay, yeah.
Another guy you mentioned earlier this morning.
Which one did I mention? I don't remember.
Napoleon Lajoie.
Napa Joey, yeah.
In the TV booth yesterday, Matt Underwood, Rick Manning welcomed Marcus Dupree for a half inning. He's in Cleveland to give away some high school athlete of the year award.
The football player, Marcus Dupree?
The football player.
Wow.
And for those of you who weren't around 45 years ago, Dupree is one of the greatest high school athletes ever. He played football, basketball, and baseball at Philadelphia High School in Mississippi. As a freshman on the football team, 14 years old. Very first time he touched the ball, he returned a kickoff 75 yards for a touchdown. Scored 7 kickoff and punt return touchdowns as a freshman in high school. When he was a receiver, they moved him to running back as a sophomore. He rushed for 1,850 yards, scored 28 touchdowns. As a junior, 1980, rushed for 2,550 yards, scored 34 touchdowns, 25 rushing, 9 by kick return.
Wow.
As a senior, rushed for 2,955 yards, scored 36 touchdowns, finished his high school career with 7,355 rushing yards. That's in 3 seasons as running back. An 8.3 yards per carry average, scored 87 touchdowns, breaking Herschel Walker's national high school record. As a sophomore, Dupree led his high school basketball team to a 33-4 record. They reached the semifinals of the state baseball tournament in Mississippi and played first base and catcher on the baseball team, had a .481 batting average. So obviously, as you might expect, he's recruited by every major school in the country to play football. He committed to Texas, but then Barry Switzer sent Oklahoma assistant Lucius Selman.
Oh, it's a great name for a recruiter.
Leroy's brother. You remember the Selman brothers all played at Oklahoma.
Yeah.
So Lucius Selman goes down there to Philadelphia, Mississippi, and he rents a hotel, stays in a hotel for 6 weeks, and recruits Dupree every single day. And then Barry sent down his former Heisman winner, Billy Sims, and he recruited Dupree. Right. Dupree finally says, all right, I'm going to decommit from Texas. I'm going to Oklahoma. He sits the bench at Oklahoma, first 3 games. Then he gets some playing time. The Sooners started out 1-2. He gets some playing time when Barry Switzer decides to get rid of the wishbone and go to the I formation. First touchdown in college came on a 63-yard run against Texas. Also that season, he had a 75-yard touchdown run against Kansas, a 77-yard punt return against Colorado, an 80-yard run against Kansas State, a 70-yard run against Missouri, and an 86-yard run against Nebraska. This is all as a freshman at Oklahoma. And then he went home over the Christmas break, and he put on 15 pounds. And he came back overweight and ran for a Fiesta Bowl record 239 yards. So then he goes home for the summer. Came back his sophomore season overweight, out of shape, bad attitude, shows up late on campus, misses the team picture, and Switzer calls him lazy. And he played in just 4 games, ran for 369 yards and 3 touchdowns. And then he announced that he was leaving school. 4 games into his sophomore season.
One of those games was against Ohio State, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
The 24-14 Ohio State went out. Where was it? I don't know if it was here or there.
That was here, I think.
I remember going into it.
They played them in back-to-back.
Yeah,
they lost to them here and beat them there.
It must have been there, because I know they won the game with Dupree, because Dupree got hurt in that game.
Overstreet was on that team. And anyway, he transfers to Southern Miss. The NCAA says, sorry, you can't play this season. You've already played 4 games for Oklahoma. And, oh, by the way, you have to sit out next season, too, transfer season. So he says, all right, I'm done with college football. I'm going to the USFL. Suffers a massive knee injury, and his career's over. But that one season at Oklahoma and his whole high school career was just unbelievable. If you've never heard the name Marcus Dupree, Google him.
Another good 30 for 30. The best it ever was.
Yep. Bobby, what has you juiced?
Better single season, Marcus Dupree, Maurice Claret.
Dupree.
Oh, I'd say Claret.
I mean, he had 7 runs of more than 70 yards.
Yeah.
But
he ran for like 1,300 yards and didn't even start till game 7.
Yeah. I mean, it was wildly impressive. I watched the best that never was. It was amazing to see. I think now he lives back in
Mississippi, I think, right?
Yeah.
Like truck driver or something, I thought last night.
He's a truck driver.
Yesterday, he was at the Guardians game.
Good for him.
There you go.
He's a large man.
Oh, very robust.
Yeah. But he claimed he ran a 4.2 40. The best I could find was 4.29.
You could just make it. I mean, no one can ever go back and.
I could run a 4.2 40 back when you guys didn't see me run.
40 feet.
40 feet.
Exactly.
You guys are so
We'll
funny.
start out with my guy Jocko today, Shark.
You want to know what fear is? Fear is thinking about what's going to happen and the worst possible case scenarios that you're brewing up inside your own head of terrible outcomes. That's what fear is. It's thinking of things that haven't happened yet that might potentially in some other world happen this time, but you don't know that yet. And instead of just taking action, you sit there and wait. And the best way to overcome that fear is to go. Go.
Best way to do it is to go. It's pretty. I was listening to some more stuff on him the other day about it, and it's really good. And that's the truth. The fear of inaction is obviously much greater. So go figure it out, dive on into it, and it'll get going. Last night, I was like, you know what? It was about 6 o'clock, 6:30. Had gotten some things done.
Think I'll pour myself a glass of wine.
Think I'll pour myself a glass of wine, and then I had RJ, my cupbearer, go refill it for me multiple times.
Oh my gosh!
As I had a little bit of steak that Cord had cooked, and we sat there with the boys. I'm like, you know what? Let's watch something. And we were going to watch What About Bob, and which is great. My friend recommended a couple of sailing movies because I was just talking about sailing. He's like, you should see What About Bob. And I was like, I don't know what that is. That would be great.
You've never seen it?
I've seen What About Bob.
Okay.
But then there was another one that I hadn't seen, and I texted him, and it took a minute to get back. And he said it was Summer Rental with John Candy, which I hadn't seen. And so we were going to get that. What About Bob? We had to rent. It was going to cost $4. And then I saw Animal House on there. I was like, you know what? I've never seen a full viewing of Animal House from beginning to end. And it's not that long of a movie. I'm sure the plot can't be that in depth. And I put it on for the boys. Now, outside of having to fast forward some topless scenes, I was like, I'm sure that was it. But outside of that, and my wife's like, they swear a lot. I go, they don't really swear that much. And based upon today's movies, it was fairly tame, some of the things that we've seen, but it was really good, very entertaining.
See Donald Sutherland's butt in that movie.
We did, yes, we do. Yeah, we do see at the cabin or whatever.
The
professor, yeah.
It's so great. Gosh, he's such a weirdo. And it was really entertaining. And so that had me juiced watching it last night. I said we put some pavers down, or I did, not we. The one we got from Ohio Mulch and threw those in, made a couple paths. And through some of our little flower beds, and felt pretty good about that. I wanted to relax. And then I watched the most basketball I've watched all year. I think I watched 3.5 quarters of that OKC-Indiana game. And I kept watching to see if OKC was going to make a run at the end after Indiana started pulling away. And good to see the Pacers get a win. Pitt McAfee going off, leading the chants once again in the cheers. But that's got me juiced. Fit off. What's got you juiced, sir?
The Dupree thing, when Shark brought it up, and it's funny, we got Father's Day weekend coming up. We'll talk more about fathers and sports and stuff like that tomorrow. But my dad has hung his hat on that when it comes to sports knowledge. Because before that game with Oklahoma, when Dupree was getting all the hype, and my dad said to me, Ohio State's defense is really good. They're going to hit him hard and knock him out of the game, and he won't be a factor. And I told my dad, this guy's really good, And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. Ohio State, he ended up getting hurt, left the game, and Ohio State ended up winning that game by 10 points after all the hype Oklahoma had coming into it. And ever since then, whenever my dad and I are discussing an upcoming football game for Ohio State or something like that, or maybe involving the NFL at some point, when he puts his hot take on like that on me, he will make sure to point out, you remember what I said about Oklahoma that one year, right? I'm like, yeah, Dad, but that was a long time ago. You nailed it in 1983. But yeah, a lot's changed. So that's still it. But so that's got me just hearing you tell stories. It always makes me think about my dad doing that and telling me that's going to happen, and that did happen. But tomorrow I want to make sure with the last day for Father's Day, I want us to have some discussions about maybe just memories. I'm not saying a segment, but like just maybe memories about sports and for fathers and things that may stick out that we remember. All three of our fathers are living. Is that correct, Shark? Your dad's?
No.
Oh, you have a stepdad. That's right.
Yep.
Yeah. I know Bobby's and I are both are still alive, but to talk about that a little bit, though, and growing up, I got an interesting little story about something that happened to me when my dad was coaching in soccer. So we'll do that tomorrow. But thank you to all the juicers on the chat. We appreciate that. Thank you, Albert Breer. Thanks always, Shark, for doing a fantastic job here, you damn quitter. Make sure you tune in tomorrow. Morning Juice on the Fan.
While serving in Vietnam, a grenade took my ability to see. Today, I'm a sculptor. Now, my fingers are my eyes. I'm Michael Naranjo. As a veteran, I know the challenges of life can be great. In my art, turning a lump of clay into something beautiful, that is worth doing. Life is like that. We each must use what we can to make things better.
DAV helps veterans like Michael get the benefits they've earned. They help more than 1 million veterans every year in life-changing ways.
Now, I show others how they can create something with their own hands. I know it can do.
All the stuff that went on
has secured herself. That's a TSA.
Normally, he is sweaty. Today